Still continue with our topic of functions, but now we shall a bit go deep to the composite functions and see. So we shall go deep concerning the composite functions. So we shall dig a deep bit compared to the simple ones. So for the other case, they can say maybe find f of x. So here they might give us more than one function. For example, given that f of x equals to maybe x squared, then they say g of x equaling to x plus 2. You can say find a Roman numeral number 1 can tell you to find g f of x. Roman numeral number 2, I can tell you to find f g of x. Then they can still tell us to find maybe find Roman numeral number 3 g f of x equaling to f g of x. It might seem complex, but in other words, it's not complex as many of you can think. So there are such kinds of functions, but let us see how can we go a bit about these functions. So for the first example, they are telling us that we have in g f of x, which is required. So let us see now, taking this as our first example. Example 1, solution. So let us see how shall we go about this. They want g f of x, but in other words, if this is g f of x, in other words, what is at the extreme end at the start is the controller. So we take this as the mother and the whole of this as the child. So in other words, if g is the mother, then the child f of x is inside the womb of the mother. So in other words, when we take a look at this, g is the mother and f of x is the child. So in other words, what shall I do? So it's the g of x which is the controlling function. So we shall say, since g is outside, g of x will be the controlling function, since g is at the extreme start here. So we have our g of x, but g of x was given as x plus 2. But now, what we should take note of, what they want is not g of x. They want g f of x. Remember we say that g is like the mother and f of x is the child. So it is the mother that takes control of the child. So that's why we have started with g of x, which is the controlling function. But the function required of us is g f of a. They want g f of x. G f of x is ideally given by, so take note of this. This is what they want. So when you try to compare these two, g is outside, even at this end g is outside. So in the position of x, we have there f of x. What does this require? You remember we looked at the example where they say f of x is this, then they said you find f of 2, where we just merely substituted in a 2 in the function. But for this case, what we shall do, since g is the controlling function, and where there is x, for this case we have f of x. So meaning that we shall see where x is, we substitute in f of x. So we shall go to the right hand side, we identify where is x. So I can see that x is here. If there was any other x, as long as we have x there, whether there are 2 or more, we still substitute. Where we see x, we put there f of x. So I come this side, I see x. So where I see this x, I'll put there f of x. So what was f of x in our function? F of x. So where I see x, I put there f of x. But according to the question, our f of x was x squared. Don't forget to put the 2, which was this side. So in other words, This is our final answer we are coming to. So therefore, our g f of x will ideally be x squared plus a 2. That is for the case of Roman numeral number 1. Then we shall go to a bit Roman numeral number 2 and see how shall we go about Roman numeral number 2. So Roman numeral number 2, they want f g of a, they want f g of x. So it's still our task to identify what is the controlling function. So every time take note what is the beginning. So for this case we can identify that f is the beginning. So mean that f will be the controlling function. In other words, this will be the mother. So we take this, our f as the mother, and g of x as the child in the womb of the mother. Ideally, we can be able to specify and see that now it's f which is the controlling function. So I can ideally just say our f of x was given in the question above, which was given as x squared. So since f is the controlling function, they don't require f of x, but what is required of us is finding f g of a x. But take note of this, f is the controlling function, then g is the child in the womb. So we see that f and f are matching, but at this stage we shall see where there is x, we shall put there g of x. So I will go and see where is x. I look at the right hand side, x is here. So where there is x, we shall simply substitute in with g of x. G of x was given in the function. So that thing where g of x will go in the position for x. Only this. Don't forget to include the squared as you put the substitution for g of x. So our g of x was given in the question as x plus 2. So where there is x, I'll put there x plus 2. Not forgetting that this squared was squaring the whole of x. So I'll have to square the whole of this squared. In other words, that is repeating itself two times. Simply, some other people just say x plus 2 into x plus 2. Then they expand like this. X times x, they get x squared. Then x times 2, 2x. Still 2 times x, we get a 2x. 2 times a 2, we get a 4. So we shall finally have x squared plus 4x plus 4. So that is finally the answer we have come up with as our f g of x is given as x squared plus 4x plus a 4. So that is also done. Simply as that, there is no need for you to continue from that stage. Looking at Roman numeral number 3, they were equating g f of x and xc g of a x. So let us find how we can simply tackle that also. So Roman numeral number 3, they wanted us to find g f of x equaling to f g of a of x. So we got these two terms, so there is no need for us to rush anyhow. We had the terms gotten already in Roman numeral number 1 and Roman numeral number 2. So just substitute where you see g f of x, put there the solution we got in Roman numeral number 1, which was x squared plus a 2, giving us so what is our f g of x? Ideally, f g of x was given as, in Roman numeral number 2, x squared plus 4x, then plus a 4. So from this stage, you shall just collect like terms. X goes this side, it will become x cancelling out with this x. Then the 2 also goes this side, it shall now be 4 minus a 2, since the 2 this side was a positive. So the whole of these terms this side, we have taken them out to the right. So x goes with the x. Then this side will only remain with 4x. Then the 2 comes, reduces the 4 to positive 2. We end up having our x plus 2, giving us a 0. So That is our g f of x according to that. So if they tell you to solve for x, then we just have to solve for this solve for that x. How shall we solve for x in case we have to solve it? So we just simply take this to this side and we say this equals to negative 2. We divide both sides by a 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. Our x will be negative a half. That's when they tell us to solve for the x value. So for that case, we shall look at another example 2, and see how best can we go about with example 2. So they can still give us maybe h of m equals to x squared plus 4. That is our h of m, and f of m is given as, they can still give us something like maybe x plus 1. So question maybe find Roman numeral number 1. They can tell you to find f inverse g of x. They can still tell us find f inverse g of 2. They can tell us find g inverse f of x. They can tell you to find g inverse f of 4. They can also tell us to find maybe part B, g inverse f of x equaling to f inverse g of x. So how do we go about that? Simple. We shall use still the other concept of inverse which we knew. So for this case, just put in mind that they want f inverse g of x. So since they want f inverse g of x, what shall we do? Do we have f g of x? Do we have f g of x? No. But they want the inverse now. So we go about the solution and see. Solution and see how we can do better. So we shall first of all see what is given to us. Just analyze critically. There is no need for us to rush. So we can still split it like what we did in part 1, in example 1. How shall we do it? We can simply say that if we have, they want f inverse g of x, we can split it still in term where we have f inverse being the mother, then g of x, which is the child. So putting in mind now, what is controlling is the f inverse. So put in mind that f inverse will be the mother. So it's upon we now to go ahead and look for the f inverse of x. Reason being, we shall be taking f inverse as our mother. So we shall go ahead and look for the f inverse of x. So how do we look for the f inverse of x? We ideally have f of x as it's f of x. So this time we're given f of m. So we can change maybe this to x still. It depends on what is, when they were given x, we use x. When you are given m, still use m. So this is x. So let us find now f inverse of x. So when we are finding f inverse of x, we shall just let any unknown, maybe m, equal to f of x. What is our f of x? It is x plus 1. So that is our f of x, is x plus 1. So we make x the subject, x comes this side, then we shall have 1 minus m crosses the equal sign. So we have made x the subject of the formula. We have retained x this side and 1 has crossed. So this is supposed to be, 1 is crossing, we're having 1. So we are making x the subject, so we'll take the 1 this side. So we shall be having m minus a 1. So our x will ideally be m minus 1. We have made x the subject. How? By taking 1 this side. So that is our f inverse now. F inverse of x. F inverse of x is equivalent to, where we see m, we substitute back with x minus a 1. So we have gotten our mother now, which was the f inverse. So we still, that's not what they want of us. So we have to go ahead and look for what they want, which was f inverse g of x is what they wanted. So since these are the same, so where we see x, we shall put there g of f. We shall put there g of x. So we shall just come and see where is our x. Where there is x, I will just substitute in with the g of x. But we can see that our g of x, which was given, was x squared plus 4. So where we see x now, I'll put there g of x. So we shall just come and say where there is x, we put there g of x. What is our g of x? It is x squared plus f4. Don't forget the 1 minus the 1. This will give us x squared plus f3. So we have finally gotten our f inverse g of x. But Roman numeral number 2 is requiring us to get f inverse g of 2. So sometimes they can bring it as a trick. They may not give you this part one of finding f inverse g of x. So it's upon you, if they say f inverse of g of 2 directly, it's upon you to first look for f inverse g of x as we have done. Then you can just substitute in to get f inverse g of 2. So here we shall just substitute in the function we got up. We have our f inverse g of x, which is x squared plus f3. Then the f inverse g of 2, which they want now, where there is x, we put there a 2. This is the same as this, g is the same as this, x, we shall put a 2. So it becomes 2 squared plus 3. This will give us a 4 plus 3, which will give us a 7. So that is the final answer we have come up with. So let us look at Roman numeral number 3. Roman numeral number 3. They want us to get g inverse f of x. So g inverse f of x, still we shall use the same concept, where we take this as the mother, equating, this is the same as our mother, then the child in the womb, the child in the womb, which is that. So we shall finally be having g inverse as the controller, or our mother. So we shall take note what will be g inverse of x. This is what we are looking for now because it is the mother. That's what we are looking for. So since that is what we are looking for, we shall have to we know g of x, which is x squared plus 4. We have now to look for the inverse of that. How would we look for the inverse? So we let n unknown, maybe let n equal to that g of x, which is x squared plus f4. plus f4. So still we need the concept. We have to make x the subject of the formula. So how do we make x the subject of the formula? you have first of all remove the 4, take it this side. So when you take it this side, it becomes n minus 4. Then this side remain with x squared. The next step shall be taking a root on both sides. N minus 4 equals to x squared. Also take a root to this side. So our x will finally be root of n minus 4. That's what we are having. So it means that the G inverse of x that we are looking for will ideally be where we see n, put there the x value that they wanted. So that is the mother now. But that's not what they want. They wanted the G inverse f of x. So since G inverse is the same as this, so we are taking this as the child. Where we see this x, we shall put there f of x. So we come here to the right, look for x. Where we see the x, we put there f of x. So what is f of x? So f of x was given as x plus 1, x plus 1. So ideally we put here and we say x, where there is x we put x plus 1, x plus 1, because we said where we see x we shall be substituting in the child. So G inverse, where there is x we put the f of x. So come here, x is here, put there f of x, which is x plus 1 minus 4. Don't forget, this will give us x minus 3, a positive negative 4. So that is our G inverse f of x. We have gotten that also. But finally, Roman number 4, they wanted the G inverse f of 4. Since we already have G inverse f of x here, we shall now simply get the G inverse f of 4. How? We shall just use the G inverse f of x is given by the root of x minus 3, which is there. Then our G inverse f of 4, where we see x we put there 4. So we say 4 minus 3. This will give us 4 minus 3 is 1. This is the root of 1. So root of 1 is given as 1. Then finally we go to equating. So we shall equate finally part B, G inverse f of x equaling to f inverse G of x. So we have G inverse f. So we have G inverse f x equating to f inverse G of x. So we have here our G inverse f of x, which is root of x minus 3 equaling to f inverse G of x. Where is the f inverse G of x? F inverse G of x is x squared plus 3. So we equate that. So there is no way we can simplify this further. Rather, we can just stop there, or we can just say we have root of x minus 3 minus x squared plus 3 equaling to 0.